We're running a little behind our normal schedule. Yeah, a few minutes. So we had to hustle up here to try to pick up the few guys that are riding today. Happy New Year to all of you. It's 2022. We're gonna ring in the new year. But what we love to do. My brother put his kit together. See how the socks match the letters on the jersey and the helmet. Everything just goes together. Pops. So come on, let's get through that.
Yeah, this light changed early.
We weren't even there. We're taking it.
So we hit the center.
Yeah.
As it turns red, we're already in the middle of the intersection.
We got about 9 minutes to get up there.
We are in the Woodlands, Texas, on Cochran's Crossing Boulevard. We went through that intersection because we had full visibility. It's a quiet intersection. We could see left and right. No other cars were timing the change of the light. And when we entered the intersection, it was still yellow. So you have to be careful if you do something like that. Don't do that on very busy intersections. The wind is from the south. It is at least 16 kilometers an hour. That's what it felt like, I'm estimating. It blew the entire day. And since we're waiting for a front that will bring a freeze in less than 24 hours, we'll go from 28°C to about 2 Celsius temperature-wise, but it's going to feel like -5 the day after this ride because the winds were like above 50K in certain parts of town. It's like 30-something, 35 miles an hour winds. So it just felt brutally cold the day after this ride. And, you know, it's supposed to stick around for about 24 hours and then warm back up to about 15 to 18 Celsius in the middle of the week. That's normal for this region. We're trying to make sure we get there on time. We don't like to be tardy, so we usually get there around 7:28 in the morning. Give ourselves a couple of minutes. We spin nearby and we kind of keep our eye on the guys and try to get in the lot just before they leave. But with the tailwind today, we really covered more ground than we expected. It normally takes us about 8 to 10 minutes from where we started the filming here to get to the parking lot. That's why I said we had about 9 minutes. We ended up taking like 5 minutes. So we're really moving. So the day after this ride, when I got home, my wife took me to the beauty salon and got my feet, got a pedicure. Man, it felt great after that because they were a bit achy. You know, all this riding, you get calluses on your toes, the balls of your feet, your heels, all of that. And whether you're riding bikes or running, it's the same stuff. You use your feet a lot, you got to baby them. So it was really, really a nice surprise. And my feet are very thankful for that. My toenails are grown to the point where they were attacking my socks, if you know what I mean. So you got to keep up with those kind of things. I usually clip them myself, but they were a little longer than I like. I like to keep them very short because we have these delicate socks that we wear, and if the toenails get long, they can kind of snag it. You probably know what I mean. So I keep them short. So I got a pair of socks I have to repair. Thankfully, I know how to repair them with needle and thread. I went online and did some research, and I'm going to fix them because they're my favorite, and they are not long in the tooth. I don't like to throw things away. So I'm going to repair them, keep using them. I like to do the white and white like you see here with the shoes and the socks that make them look like boots. And you'll hear Mo talking about, Mo is at this ride, Mo is in the parking lot. You'll hear him talk about just the feel of having that compression on your feet. Compression helps. It helps your recovery. So whether you do it with things that you can wear while you ride or after the ride, it helps to get the toxins out of the muscles. We got up here quickly. I mean, this is the corner. There's like 3 corners left and we're there. And I'm not aware of the time at this point. You see me lean the bike, we're going. And in a little bit, you will hear me realize that we've got like 5 minutes or something. I thought we had no time. So we really flew up here today because the wind's behind us. I saw a rider coming. That's what I told Paul. So right here, you hear me tell him, it's just 7:24.
Yep, 7:24, my brother.
It's like I'm pushing the pace, thinking we're out of time. We got 6 minutes. I'm like, come on.
Indeed.
So we made good time.
Boys are in trouble. Just don't do it.
Yeah, man.
It's a good warm-up. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton New Year's Day, rolled into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR. Mo was there. After we left, we went down Fishcreek. The wind was from the south, and it was just pounding us. Went all the way to Lake Conroe. That's the outskirts of it on Highway 105. We filmed all the way to 105, and then we left the group. They came back, and then we went out through the forest. You can see we went about partway just to get some hills, and we came back and did Bailey Grove. And we should have listened to Mo, because he suggested that we should go clockwise to do Bailey Grove. We had planned to do counter because Paul wanted to ride those hills, but that wind pounded us on that open exposed area. We went up to Forest Glen, came back down 149. We stopped at Taco Corner for supplies. At this point, it was late in the ride, and we resumed taking Lone Star Parkway, behind the high school, Spring Branch, Keenan Cutoff, went through the neighborhood, and our favorite road, Honey Egypt Road, back to the woodlands. The wind did not let up. I had hoped it would turn around because the front was coming, but no, it just blew the whole way in. So we had to work really hard, but I think you will love the clips that we got for you.
Yeah.
He looks just like her.
Yeah.
Mo is talking to his mother on New Year's Day on the phone. She's in Italy.
You look like your mom. Film that.
Yes.
Allora, saluti, ti si mette su YouTube.
Mrs. Tupini, that Mo's mom.
From Italy. Mom is witnessing the start of the ride.
Okay.
Va bene, grazie. Dimmi. Sì.
Viva la mamma di Pennato, metterà anche quella?
Certo, vai. That's my brother. He's missing the ride today.
His brother is missing the ride Saturday on his side of the world because he had to drive his mom back home. That's Mo's brother. That's another cyclist.
Allora ci si saluta.
Italiano.
That's cool. That is so cool.
That would be good.
That is cool, man. That is cool. Keep rolling. That is cool.
Yeah.
My brother, he does the same thing, but he had to drive her back. She spent the holidays with him.
Okay.
So, and this morning, she wanted to go home. She drove her back home.
You see Mo puts his phone in a plastic bag that protects it against rain, sweat, whatever.
She'll be 87 in April. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. Where's Mark?
That's Mark right there.
Hey,
on the
Mark.
other side of Dan.
Are we doing the Longmire
7:33.
loop? Is
What
that what I heard?
What's the route?
Longmire?
Hey, AJ.
I thought we were doing Longmire.
We're going out Fishcreek, but I don't know how we're coming home.
105 Longmire?
Yeah, let's do Longmire. Let's go along.
We gotta have some trees.
The bridge is going to be tough.
With the wind, yeah,
Yeah, it's very windy.
Yeah.
And Mo said it will probably be dangerous because trying to do an echelon, and
I
it's
was thinking
very
Spring
windy.
Branch home because of the trees, but
Don't worry, I'll be in the front.
The wind was switched.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about.
No, I think Spring Branch is a good idea. Either Spring Branch or Melrose.
More heads than light.
Yeah,
That's the play. Yeah.
So more if you drop us, don't feel bad. Just
It's a New Year's Day.
Did
Yeah,
everybody
Mo
hear
said
that?
he's taking it easy. Mark said everybody hear
I
that.
slept 4 hours.
We got him on film. He said he slept 4 hours. He's gonna take it easy. Don't
But we
you
could do the
believe
Long
that?
Mile little loop. We can beat Jerry's KOM right there. On New Year's Day, we're making a little gift. That would be awesome.
Are we ready to roll?
Yeah, I was hoping he'd be here.
So I still haven't heard where we're going.
So Fishcreek.
we follow the captain. Captain, what are you? We got a new helmet, I think. Is that a new helmet?
Yeah, Mark said a new helmet.
The old one was so cracked up, I couldn't get it on my head anymore. It was sticking through. I guess we'll just go Capital to Raven Chapel to Mail Route to Taco Corner, and then Lone Star Loop, Spring Branch, Keenan, and the neighborhood.
Easy enough. That's a good distance for today.
We'll go back. We're gonna go back and do Bailey Grove. We fell in love with Bailey Grove 2 days ago. Counterclockwise. Yeah, he wants to do it twice. I told her, I said, you're nuts.
You better do it. You're better off doing it. With the wind, the south wind,
With the wind like
in
it
the
is.
section that is all open.
The other day we went to, we didn't
It's
have
better
any
to have that
flights,
tailwind there, and then the way you get Bailey Grove and 149.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a new friend.
Yeah, but he
I love the punishment.
what happened when we went with you guys a few years ago? He struggled going west. Yeah, and so he's like, I gotta work this.
Yeah, so Paul wants to improve his tolerance of Bailey Grove. There's a lot of repeated climbs going west.
I like the feel on my ankles, so I want to look for them for the summer as well.
Yeah.
Rather than compression socks, I like this.
Yeah.
It's just a feel.
Those look like the Asos.
Those are DHB, and they're almost like a lightweight. They're not for very cold weather. Mo said he's looking for something to wear all year that will give you the feel of compression when you ride without having compression socks. He said he likes
I
that.
think Stanley makes. I think they're called Vento.
Vento, he's talking about the different. So he's shopping for lightweight, almost like a Aero shoe cover, but that's nice and snug. That's what he's talking about.
Arrow and rain.
Yeah.
This is wet, but not perfect. I think that's
I've got one that's from Asos that's Aero and rain for all year. It'll keep your feet somewhat dry, but it's Aero. So just having your feet with the right compression can help your recovery. So he said he likes the feel of that. There was a slight chance of rain today, but it never materialized. We had a bit of drizzle from time to time, nothing major. So officially, it's just supposed to be cloudy today. So Moore and I are on the back, and we're talking about different things like, we're talking about if you get a saddle you like. I told him, I said, yeah, I like to get an extra copy. That's what we're talking about. He's got that bike fitting him. It fits him well. So this is a good formation here on this road. The guys on the left get to stay away from that white line, so we're not very close to the passing cars. But this doesn't continue very long because that shoulder ends at intersections. These guys on the right have to come over. So these guys will move over a little bit. But wherever possible, really what it should do is just get where Dan is and this guy get on the white line right there. You see that? Just use this half of the lane. We can do that. Like how Moore and I are riding. So you don't need to be by the white line. Just use half the lane and you can ride two abreast. And you give yourself enough room for cars when they're passing in their lane. The wind is blowing from the left, which is south. We're headed west right now, and then we're going to turn north. Another reason we ride to the right is you get the warm up. I was telling more about a road that Paul and I found that is a Strava segment that we didn't know about.
It just dead ends and you come back. Yeah, Paul and I just said, let's check.
We find all these little roads on the same routes that we do that we don't frequent because they don't go anywhere. They're dead end, you gotta come back. But it ended up being a nice long climb on the way back. And these guys knew about it because someone has registered that road as a segment in both directions. So there are two separate segments. One is called in, one is called out. And that's what I was telling more about it. He knew about it, and Jerry has the KOM for that one. Jerry is not here right now, but he's up ahead. At this point, we're not aware of it, but he's waiting at the Aldi with about 3 other riders. I got to meet one of the riders. His name is Mike. He rides a vintage bike, kind of a steel bike, almost like from the age of my Colnago that I have. But he's a very, very considerate rider. He did something very classy on this ride. Yeah, so just to the Paul, let him get behind us because he was flipping the camera back and everything. I wanted to make sure I would be in the frames for the sync, and that's what just happened there. But anyway, what I was talking about, as a rider, we're going to pick up. And he just showed a lot of class, and I gave him his kudos for that, because when you're riding in the Paceline and you're about, let's say you're at your limit, you're not required to, I guess, worry about anybody else. And he was about to blow, and I could tell, and he waved me up and stayed there long enough to where I just got in. That was off camera. We're near Taco Corner at that point, up a climb of Lone Star Park Road in the wind. And it was just nice because he didn't have to do that. And so I thanked him on the road as I went by, because it just saved me from expending some, effort that I didn't need to. So I thought that was cool. So you can tell a rider's class and experience by the way they ride, the way they carry themselves. And in that regard, there's a guy in the ride on this ride. He rides with us a lot, Abby. He just, I don't know if he's intentionally doing it or not, but to me, from being around cycling, basketball, all kinds of other sports, it's a lack of sportsmanship to show someone up. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when I used to play basketball. If you dunk on somebody, you don't go in your face. That's how fights start, or, you can just like demoralize someone, make them feel bad about themselves, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And he just continues. In cycling, it's kind of like if somebody's pulling really hard and then you just roll up on the left for show. Like, basically what you're saying is, yeah, I know you're killing yourself, but it's easy for me. It's like, you just got to watch that kind of stuff. And he does that a lot. I don't know if he's intentionally doing it, but he'll be riding, keeping the line tight. Then he'll just roll up on the left to chat with the person in the front about nothing in particular. I think it's just a show. And my issue with that is, if you're going to go up to the front, get up there and go pull, or sit in the back. Now, why am I saying that? You will see on this ride, as we approach the open road, he's up ahead. He will literally go across the road and stop. So he's the last rider in the group. So if you like being at the back that much, why wait till someone is working hard, then you come and act like, oh, this is really easy for me? That's what I'm getting at. And I got a little annoyed, and I used the donkey word, like, get your A back. How do you pull or get to the back? Because it's like, and I don't normally do that kind of stuff, so it bugged me a little bit that I let it get to me. But it was like I told him, I said, the guy's working. What are you going up there to talk? There's nothing to talk about. And you guys will see it develop. It's not a big deal, but don't do that. Don't show up other riders. You create animus, let's say. And you never know. That rider might be able to give you a wheel one day. Those of you who compete or whatever. You never know. Just have good sportsmanship. You're not going to win every race in life. So when you win, be thankful. You've done your best and you came out front. And even if you do your best and you don't, that's okay too. But don't go and show up other riders. If that's, I don't know if that's his intent, but that's how it comes across. Because he doesn't need to be going up there. And then why go up there and not help the group? You just go sit on the left in the wind while this person's working their tail off. You guys will see it. And but he does it a lot, and that was the first time I said something, because other thing, what it also does, it disrupts the rhythm of the group. When you go up to talk to that guy and he lets off the power, we've got to coast or slow down so that then the group is off, you know? So it's a disruption any way you look at it. And he's done it so many times that whatever his intent, it's just not necessary. And I just told him, get up there and pull, or go back to the back where you like to be anyway. You're going to come up here, get in the front. If you're going to go to the front, get up there. Give the guy a wheel. Don't come sit on the left because it's easy for you at this moment. You know. So, yeah, that wasn't too cool, but I didn't like my reaction to it. I don't know why it bugged me so much. It's just that the guy was pouring. He was pouring his heart out, taking a long pull, and he comes to disturb what was going on. So you'll see it develop. I just think that that's not cool to do. I don't care how fit you are. Don't show up other people. Just enjoy your fitness.
Was it just
This is Mike S5. He had gone and pushed the button, the pedestrian crossing, because we don't have a car behind us. And if you don't do it on these,
I can't remember which day.
almost rural roads, the light won't change. They favor the main highway. That's FM 1488 here. We're headed west. As we cross the intersection, Jerry is at the Aldi. This is another departure point for rides in the area here. So Jerry was riding around. He probably decided to wait for us here. There he is. So I greeted him. There are a couple of other riders. That's Mike, the guy I was talking about in the white with the vintage bike. Just a classy rider. I don't know him very well. This is the first time I've ridden with him, I think, but his class just showed. Very considerate rider. Jerry said, you guys been riding? I said, yeah, we ride. Paul's been on vacation, so it's been fun going out with him. We put in a lot of Ks and with the festive 500 and all of that. You guys are going to see, I hadn't seen Jerry do this, but Paul filmed him today. Jerry basically, I know that he sits off the back of the group. He leaves like maybe a car length to make it, so he can work or get on his bars. He's got those clip-ons on his bike. But I didn't know that Jerry literally would ride up to the group. You will see Jerry, who's off the back when we go up the overpass. We get a gap on them. Jerry rides and catches up to us. He pulls Paul for a while, then he catches up to us. That takes a lot of effort. But I have mentioned before that Jerry uses some of these segments on Strava. He's got like KOMs, or he's in the top 2, top 5, whatever. So he'll find a segment with the proper conditions and then go for like a KOM. So what he does is he'll go off the back of the group and ride up to the group. And that's a very good strategy, because that way you're not leaving everybody behind. But what that has done is that it has given him the confidence and the ability to ride back to the group, which is good, because if you have it flat or some other mechanical, you should be able to ride up and catch within reason, group or get close. And we get to see that on film today. It was very nice to see, where he comes from the back and rides up to the group. You will see Jerry wave me up once we get going, because we're going down the hill and I pass him because I always pass people down the hill. And then I thought he was waving me up because I had passed him. And I told him, no, I'm just doing this so that I don't have to brake. And he said, no, go up anyway. And then I went, you'll see me ride up. So he wanted to drift to the back and sit there and ride off the back of the group. This is where Mark is changing. Instead of us turning on Capitol Road, we're going to go straight on Fishcreek. Yeah, so I asked him, and he said all the way up Fishcreek to 105 to keep the maximum use of the tailwind.
Most of the way.
Yeah. So now, as we turn left here, this is what I was talking about earlier. Abby is going to literally come to a complete stop on the opposite side of the road, so he can end up being the last rider. Not a problem for me. But if you're gonna go through all this trouble, I'm gonna put an arrow on him. Look at that. If you're gonna go through all that trouble to be the last rider, why are you showing people up when they're working their tail off by riding and sitting next to them on their left, acting like you want to chat about what? I don't know. That's what annoys me.
Yeah.
And so today, for the first time, I basically told him, either you're gonna pull or go to the back and stay there.
All right. Depending on your definition of fun, right?
I think that's Mike. It sounds like he has either an Australian or some British, Scottish accent. And he said, because I said it should be fun with the tailwind, he said, depending on your definition of fun. Because even with a tailwind, when you're going very fast, it's hard. And then when Moore had said that he was going to do most of the pulling, Moore is right here on the left of Jerry. They're chatting. Because on Sunday they would ride with the Sun and Ski guys, and those guys cancel their ride because of the weather change. It's supposed to be really cold and windy, so they canceled their ride. Now Moore had planned to ride Sunday. I don't know if he did or not, but it was just so cold this morning. The wind was the biggest thing. That was AJ drifting back. So the guy I'm talking about, Mike, I believe he was the one that he would tell Paul he was going to make himself very small, which he said already. And then he said, depending on your definition of fun, when I said it should be fun, when I was telling Paul the changes that Mark had made to the route. So we've got some heavy hitters here today. We got, of course, Jerry, Mo. But when we start out, I believe... I was telling Paul that I was showing him, I said, you see how Mo kit fits him? It's like second skin. I said, that's what it's about. You got to get your stuff to fit you because your body's the biggest drag factor. But we've got Doug Shot. He's wearing a green Rafa, I think it's a Brevet series jersey. I will point him out. He was in the parking lot. We've got Logan, who's in front of Moore right now. And let me see who else. And then we've got Champoussin up there, who is the one that will be pulling when Abby rolls to the front. And the way he does that, it's like you're showing up the other rider. And I don't like that. I just don't think it's cool. Because he has no reason to do that. You're catching the wind, wasting all that energy. You could be helping the group. So, you know. It was the first time I had said something to him, but he just does it all the time. I've been on rides where when he went up there, our pace was disrupted. So, you know, you get a nice rhythm and then you got to slow down because the guy in the front slowed down to talk to Abby about some nonsense that had nothing to do. He's not there giving anybody directions or anything critical. I mean, I've seen enough of it to where I'm like, look, you know, as I showed you, you stopped to be the last guy. Why are you riding up here to sit next to this guy? Go back where you want to be and stay back there. When you come up here, you need to come take your cuts. So as we go down the hill, this is where Jerry's going to wave me up and he's going to drift to the back. So I think he can be on his bars. You know, he likes to sit back there and just kind of within reach and then ride up to the group. We're going to go over 32 miles an hour down here. And because of the tailwind, At this point, we're not working very hard. Once we get past that light, the road will start going up. I think this is where Jerry will wake me up. I said, no, I was just, then he said, go on anyway. I told him, I was just coming over just so I won't have to brake. Then he said, go ahead anyway. And I just spin the gear up. That's why you have to work on cadence. You get that instant speed. You're not laboring. If you notice, I didn't arch my back. I didn't strain. I just turned my legs faster. You don't want to be straining until, like, maybe if you're racing, you get to the finish line, then you can really put everything in. But by riding like this, you will save yourself from Herculean efforts early in the ride. And that little ache you can get in your lower back when you overdo it, yeah, you can prolong that and push that off by being selective in your gear inch choices. So as they accelerate here, I just spin whatever gear I'm in. And I just strictly, you want to do it by feel. If it feels hard, you shift down. If it feels easy, you shift up. See how easy it is to keep up. I soft pedaled and I just resume. And that way I don't have to hit the brakes. You see more soft pedaling right there? Those are the shoe covers he's wearing so he can get that compressive feel that he likes. And then it's nice to have because even if it's a day where it's going to rain a little bit, it's easy to keep your shoes clean, you know. So they're good. He's looking for something that has multiple purposes within the one covering. He needs something that will last for all year, all season long, not just for cold. And what he's wearing is not to keep you warm. It's really just, he says, for the compressive feel that he likes to have. He doesn't like to wear compression socks. So you got to take care of yourself so you can do more cycling and recover. That's Darren coming off the front. That is Robert LaPlante pulling off. Robert was the guy who was pulling last week when Paul was filming him. And then he said, oh, you're making me look bad. Paul said, no, that's okay. Paul was just basically taking shots with the camera. So now we're working. When we're coming down the hill, it was like free speed. Right here, this road is a slight grade. And even though we've got the wind behind us, you're still working on this road. I'm staying very close behind Mo. I stay a little to the left so I can see what's going on. I think it's somewhere around here. Abby's gonna come up and we've got a nice rhythm going. That's what annoyed me. I did not want him to just disrupt for no reason. You did all that stuff. You stopped across the road so you can be at the back. Then why are you coming riding up to the front to sit on the left? You're not coming to help the group. You went out of your way to be back there. Stay there. It's kind of like when you're on a bus. They tell you not to talk to the driver when the bus is moving. Similar. So don't go talk to the guy who's pulling unless it's something critical you want to tell him, like right turn or whatever, and you can yell it to him or whatever. But why go disturb the guy? He's at the front pulling the group to mess up our rhythm. He does that stuff all the time. He'll accelerate and break up the rhythm and throw the group out of whack, and we're scattered all over the road, and then he won't go to the front to pull. So my outburst was based on his behavior, his historical behavior. I'm like, you know, we don't need that foolishness today. We're here to ride. I tell you, it's not time to talk. Either you go take a pull or get to the back. It says 0. This road is like 0.5 to 3, and it says 1. This is what he does. Look at that. He's not going to pull. He's going to sit right next to the guy who's pulling. After doing all of that, to sit at the back. After stopping. I thought it's not time to talk. You know, get to the front of pole and get to the back. Now he's drifting back. That's why I think it's just a show. What are you coming up there to do? Nothing. Just disturb our rhythm. He's chatting with somebody back there. That's what Paul said. What was that about? I couldn't. At that point, I wasn't answering. I'm focused on what I'm doing here. It's time to work. And I think I said the man's working, or something like that. Man's working hard. He's up front. The guy's pulling up front. You want to ride up there. Then as he drifts back, he's greeting other people. You could have greeted them in the parking lot. They were there. So you could have greeted them before you stopped on the side of the road to be the last guy. And right now is not the time for that. You see Mo standing on the left. He's shifted up. He's carrying a slightly heavier gear. That's the rhythm he wants to carry at this moment. I make sure I leave enough room so that when he decides to get back on Logan's wheel, his bike will fit there. So there's no disruption. So Paul Ilunga is not disturbed at all, because when Mo stood up, he flexed his elbows before he stood up, kind of like a little flip, almost like you're flipping your wings. So I knew what he was doing. Then he stood up. There was no movement. His bike did not come behind to me at all. It did not disrupt anything I was doing. It was as if to say he had not stood at all. You got to practice those kind of things. It makes a big difference. So I didn't have to change my cadence, my rhythm, or nothing. And because I left just enough space for him, as soon as he was done, when he sat down, he just slid right back behind Logan. The road goes up here. When you're riding, you got to be prepared to work. Look at the watts. I'm going to drift to the left. There's a lot of little rocks that the cars blow right there. I don't like to go through them because there's other stuff there too. Those are the things that give you punctures. And this is the guy he came to talk to. This guy didn't want to talk to him. He was working. He pulls off the front. He took a long pull. So he'll broadcast that he's riding 500 miles a week. He'll put it on the app or whatever. As you can see, he didn't take no pulls. I don't want to hear about you riding 500 miles or 1,000 miles a week. Come and take your cuts. All I need to know is you're riding. I can tell by the way you perform that you're riding. I don't need to know how much you're riding. That's your prerogative. It's not necessary. We don't need to know specifically what you're doing. Why tell me you're riding 500 miles a week, but you're afraid to go to the front and put your nose in the wind? And you don't have to pull long. That guy pulled, the guy that just pulled up, he took a long pull, but he must be feeling good. You're not obligated to pull at any particular length of time. You just do what you can. You can see right here we're working. As the road goes up, we're really driving. Logan is pulling right now. Mo is on Logan's wheel, and I'm on Mo's wheel. And Paul is on my wheel. And right now, the group just looks sharp on the road. Everything is we're just precision, man. Look behind. Everybody in a line. That's Mike. That's the guy who waved me up when he was struggling off camera to let me know, you know, I'm at my limit. Come up here. He just waved me up, and I thought that was really cool. Saved me a lot of work. And so when we got to the parking lot off camera, I asked for him, who's the guy on the vintage bike? Then they said, oh, that's Mike. And so I gave him a fist pump. I thought that was really cool. I thanked him for that. So you see how close I'm sitting. You have to ride like that and save your energy because you don't know when you'll need it. And you're going to find out right now in a little bit, in about probably 2 or 3 kilometers, we're going to come to the overpass. And as we crest the overpass, we go harder at the top of the climb. Because Mo is pulling, and he does not really go full gas. He just keeps the rhythm, and he does not back off. You know, it's kind of like you have to be there for me. I guess the best way I can explain it is that it's almost like he did not increase the gearing. He just didn't let the hill slow him down. I hope it makes sense. I have never gone up these things like, let's see, we're doing 40 kilometers an hour. We're doing about 25 miles an hour. And right now it says 2%. When we get to the overpass, it'll be like 3.5. This Logan pulled off. And Mo takes over. He maintained the same effort, you know, pretty much just keeping things rolling along. And there's the overpass. I stay very close. This is not the time for any lapses. At the top, Paul would choose to let us go because he told me later, he said, back off because we're going to do Bailey Grove twice. You guys were just really hammering. I've decided to just kind of back off and not drain myself too much. Right here, we're going 500 and something watts. He does not back off. See the gap opening? I stand up, I shift up and stand, and I'm on his wheel. You gotta be attentive. And these guys come around Paul. And that's Duck Shot. That's a guy with a Rafa jersey. He was the one that said, hey, Paul. And then Mike S5 is here. Abby's in front of Mike. This is McCaleb Road. The name of Fishcreek changes when we hit Conroe. When we go over the overpass. That's 2854 we just went over. In a little bit, Jerry, who sits at the back on purpose, is going to come around. He's going to give a wheel to Paul for about maybe a kilometer, I would say. This is Jerry. Comes up, he gives Paul his wheel. Paul slips in the slipstream. Now, in a little while, Jerry's going to increase the pace. And so Paul will let him go, and you will see Jerry bridge to the group. But Jerry didn't get dropped. That's where he chooses to sit when he rides with most groups, because he will do his effort. He likes to do his effort and bridge up to the group from behind. So this way he gets to work harder than the people who just follow wheels all day long. Makes a lot of sense to me. That's how you get strong. You got to put your nose in the wind. So he goes by Mike S5. Mike is slowing down here. So he and Paul go by. And then shortly he's going to increase the effort right here. You see the wheel pulling away? That's one thing about cycling. You can tell when it just gets harder and harder and the gap is there as the wheel, you know, the wheel is right there, but you can't quite reach it. So Paul chooses not to go. Jerry pours it on. Jerry doesn't know Paul is now on his wheel. He just wants to get up there. I believe that's Darren that he's going to pass. We're in the distance where that arrow is. That's where we are. Jerry sees us, and he decides he's going to get up there. So he chose to wait a little bit before he decided to chase back up. You see how quickly he went around that guy? He ain't tired because he close. Look at the distance he put on. In no time, he will get out of camera range. So he rides back. So I'm sitting in the group. All of a sudden, Jerry shows up with a bunch of people on his wheel. So when he gets to the group, the people in the back got on his wheel, and he came around more and more attacked. All of this is off camera, but if you look at the speeds, you will see when it occurred. You can see we're doing 31 miles an hour. Those are my stats. As Paul rides behind Darren here. Mike S5 is behind Paul Ilunga. We're just a little bit off the road, up the road. So we're doing about what? 47K, so like 28, 29 miles an hour. When Jerry gets there, the pace will lift. You see right now it says 52 kilometers. That's 33 miles an hour. And I'm sitting in, so my watts are varying. Now look at my watts going up. Mo ends up sprinting around them when Jerry brought the group. See, we got to 55 kilometers an hour. That's almost 39 miles an hour in that sprint. I did not participate in the sprint. I just kind of sat on the back. We were already going so hard. So you can see it says 0 kilometers an hour right now. 0 watts. We're already stopped across the intersection. Paul is getting to the intersection. As he gets there, you will be able to see the riders that had just gotten through the light. Because we had 2 different groups, the sprint group and then the second guys. Those are the guys going. I'm already down the road to the left. So Paul gets here, he catches the red light. Basically, he will go right when the traffic clears and do a loop so you don't have to stand at this intersection to let your heart rate get down. When we ride solo, we do that a lot so that we can keep the effort up. Go right, come around, and go through the green light to go west. That's what he's doing here. In the neighborhoods, I do that a lot, so I'm not sitting at red lights, you know, and your heart rate drops so low, and then you got to work it back up. And then he will let, so Mo is waiting right there at this gas station. The riders are there. I'm further down the road. That's Mo.
There is one more back.
As the rest of the riders are here.
One more back.
Paul lets them know that Paul comes up to me. I'm up there with Logan. And he goes by. He lets us know there's one more. And then he just keeps riding. So now, after that guy gets back, at this point, we're riding towards Paul. Paul's up the road. That's just a rider riding on the right there. He's not with us. And we just wanted to show this little, look at this echelon. The wind is from the left. We took the whole right lane.
All right, legends. I think we bit off a little more than we could chew. Everybody else went home. We went out. This wind has been pounding us. It is brutal. There's a front coming in. It's gonna drop us near freezing tomorrow. So it always swirls around the day before. So we got our hands full, but we gotta make way.
That's why I wore the Arrow
That's a new
jersey.
dog. I don't remember him.
Yeah, some brown dog. We pass these houses all the time. We get to know the dogs. I know the dogs better than I know the owners. You never see the people. Every now and then you might, but the dogs are always out. So this brown dog we'd never seen before at that house. He
The wind
looks
has
like
been
he's
swirling
new.
around from southeast to southwest. Right now it's blowing from southwest.
Yeah, the
So
wind's
from in our
blowing
face
from
to the right.
our face and from the
You
right.
can see where I'm sitting on Paul's wheel.
We're on Spring Branch Road headed south. The wind's blowing from the south and from the west on the right. So I'm sitting a little to the left. There are a bunch of dogs that live in this area. They always race inside the yard, their own fenced yard. And I always greet them right here. There they are.
What's up, boys?
There's 3
What
of
you
them.
working on?
You get to know all the. So I know most of the dogs. You know, you can kind of tell. You know, after a while they get to know us too. It's kind of cool. The dogs that we know don't bother us too much. It's the new ones that come around. It's always the small ones that act like they're tough. So, but because I knew it was going to be windy, I intentionally wore my Arrow jersey. And I did not use a base layer because it's such a warm day. It says 26C. It feels a little warmer. Just slightly, not much. About 80 degrees, which is like, feels like 28 Celsius, you know. So 75 feeling like almost 80 Fahrenheit. You see where I'm sitting to maximize the draft. I'm just a little to his left, and I'm not overlapping too much. I take the lead. Such a beautiful road. I'm glad they resurfaced it. It used to be really rough in the past. It was at the point where it would basically shake you. It's beautifully done now. It's beautiful. I like the surface. It starts to go up right here. You saw how I stood without a break in my momentum? You have to practice that. You should not be disturbing the riders that are following you. When you stand, you should stand on the upstroke so the bike continues to track, just like it was when you were seated. It was Alberto Contador that said that he does this for like 20 minutes when he used to train. He would stand for 20 minutes. He was talking to Matt Stevens, the GCN guy, the former GCN guy. And he said he'd do it for 20 minutes. I'm like, that's a long time to be standing. But he showed it in the Giro one time. He went up to Montirolo. He had a mechanical, and he rode back to the front. It was impressive. Flick my elbows so Paul can come take the lead. By flicking the left elbow, he knows to come on my left. If I want him to come on the right, I would flick the right elbow. So by coming on my left, he continued to get sheltered until he got to the front, because I stayed in the wind. Since the wind is coming from the right and in front. Paul Ilunga has come a long way in his cycling. Let's see, I met Paul in 2016. This is 2021. In 5 years, he has improved tremendously from when I met him. Just how smooth he is on a bicycle and everything. You know, the first thing we started off with, of course, was his fit. And then he just devoured the information about training, kit, health, everything. He's just a true student of the sport. I roll to the front. And the road has twisted towards the east. It says southeast. You'll see it will start going more easterly than south. So the wind is changing. The wind's always changing, so you must always search for where the proper shelter is as you follow the wheels. He told me later, I did not realize what he was doing here. He was trying to drink, and there was a gust of wind. He tried to squeeze the water in his mouth. The wind blew it. He tells me after the fact, but I had noticed that when I descended here, there was a big gap to him. So whatever he was doing back there, the wind had a whole different attitude. You see it, 54 kilometers an hour. That's that 9% climb we just came down on the descent. So if you're gonna get helmets, my suggestion would be get a black one and a white one, because they'll go with every outfit you come up with after that. Then you're set. I have 2 black ones and 2 white ones. And then an orange. You know, some of those were sent into the channel, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna pick a color, black, silver, white. You don't have to worry about them going with your kit. They will match. I use the whites on cloudy days. I use the black on days that are brighter, per se. But I also like the white in the summer because it reflects the heat. So if I do wear the black, sometimes I will, especially in the winter, I will wear a cap with a bill that is bright. I want the other road users to see me. Even though I have lights, I don't just rely on those. This road is going up. The wind is pounding us from the right. That's why Paul is on my left. We've got a little bit of an echelon going. We've been riding so much that now it's taking more and more work for my heart rate to hit the higher zones, because they don't have to work as hard, but you're still working. Your muscles are still putting out the watts. But by increasing your fitness, your tolerance and your adaptation changes in the different zones. So when you ride a lot, your goal should be to have minimal conflicts with the other road users. Put the lights on your bike, be predictable. And if you have to leave the road, leave the road. There's no ownership here. You can't take this road with you. It was here before you got here. It will be here after you're gone. So nobody owns the road. So if somebody's acting crazy, stay out of their way. Your goal when you get on your bike is to go and ride your bike. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. So most people are not going to be a problem, but it just takes that one person, that small percentage. So when that does occur, make sure you don't escalate it. Protect yourself, be safe. Be safe out there. Doesn't happen. Most time we don't have any problems, but I like to mention that because around the holidays, sometimes the other road users get a bit reckless. And so you got to be extra cautious. That's all you can do. Get busy living. Don't worry about those, what I call extremes. All you can do is be careful. Everything else will fall in place. The road is going up. And that wind is not letting up. When we go in the opposite direction, we fly that way. And that's why. This is a 2% grade. And it stays, and then it goes to like 4.5 when you're leaving and getting to 149. But we spend most of our rides getting to these kind of roads, wherever they are. And you have to use some of the major highways to get there. But we basically plan to where, okay, we're gonna go do this route. You heard us talking in the parking lot. The idea is to get to areas that would allow you to ride your bike without congestion. So we spend so many hours on the bike on these quiet roads that when I get back to town, I'm not thrilled dealing with the number of road users, just the increase in the volume of traffic when we get back in town. But that's where you live. You're gonna have to deal with that. You know, it's not a problem. So we warm up in town and we cool down in town. We work when we're out of town. There's a racer dog that lives in the house on the right. We didn't see him this weekend. I guess he was on vacation. He usually comes out and he races us in the grass. And he only stays on his property range. When he gets to the end of the property, he stops. This is the house on the right. That's where he lives. He comes under that barbed wire and he races us. And I'm always egging him on. I always tell him, show me what you got. That's the house there. But we didn't see any of our usual dogs. I think they went on vacation. Where that car is in the distance, that's a 4.5% grade as you leave this place. You see me downshift right there. Do not hesitate to get in the proper gearing that you need for the effort you want to maintain. You saw me downshift to keep my cadence up. This thing bites. Look at 2%. It's going to go to 4 before we leave. It says 3 right now. Yeah, there you go. Now we're going to be turning. I'm checking for traffic. I tell them it's clear. Even though we're using the shoulder, I don't like to swing out onto the road. Even if I'm going to swing onto the shoulder, if there are cars coming, I wait. Because you startle them. They don't know you're going to stay on the shoulder. They just see somebody coming towards them. So don't do that. You wait, let them go, and then you get on the shoulder. Since nothing was coming, that's why you saw me use the main lane in that turn. You need to be very predictable. The more you ride, the more predictable you need to be. Crest the hill, we're going into the wind here. I shift up to the big ring. It's gonna go downhill. This is 149 going towards Keenan Cutoff, southbound. And we go ahead and wrap up the most challenging parts of our ride, because once we get to Keenan Cutoff, there's a bit of a shelter on the south side. We have a bunch of trees and neighborhoods. So we planned our return route to minimize the exposure to that south wind, because we fought it all day long. It took us to 105 in a hurry, but coming back, we had to deal with it. And it's always gustier later in the day. It's about 12:30 now, so, 5 hours plus. We've got almost 3 hours left in the ride. So I don't know what you did on Saturday, but this is part of what we did on Saturday before that freeze came to our area. Remember, get your K's in and keep those doctors fired.